Hey, I'm Luke, and welcome to Conquering the JavaScript interview, where I go over, and hopefully some other collaborators will come on in on my videos from Covalence here, where we are going to go over algorithms and data structures to help you pass that interview. A lot of my full stack curriculum students know that this is a whole other side of coding, so what I like to tell them is one of my favorite quotes: luck is where practice meets opportunity. So I'm going to help you do the practice, you're going to get the opportunity, and you're going to make yourself some good luck and get that job. So today's algorithm is a function that we're calling max char count, or maximum occurring character, but that seemed kind of lengthy for a function name. Who really cares? The point is that it needs to take a string argument and returns the most occurring character in that string. The most occurring nothing in that string, Luke? Really? Letter? Duh, there we go. Fix your own description, dummy. Professionals, not this guy, let me tell you that. But yeah, so just like the previous video, which I'll have linked in the description below, we have an input of capital P professionals, and we need to have an output in this particular case as S. Now, in the last video, like I had just said, and take the time to pause this and go watch it if you haven't already, we learned how to make a character map, a breakdown object that represented... It was an object that represented the string, and its properties were the letters that appeared in that string whose values were how many times they appeared in that string. So again, using that tool from the previous video, that pattern, whatever you want to call it, that function, that utility, we can easily solve this one with only a few extra steps of work. So let's just dive on in, and it would help if I had this running so we can actually have that going. And I'm gonna turn off autosave to not have a bunch of random console logs clogging up that terminal above my fat head there. Oh, and I think we have a surprise guest today. Say hi for the camera, Percival. He's in my thumbnails because he loves to come interrupt what I'm doing. His name is Percival, aka Percy, aka No Mercy Percy. He likes to make appearances in a lot of my content because he likes to sleep on the desk in front of my utility side monitor here, so I can't read it. Alrighty then. So, like I said, let's go ahead and dive on in. I'm going to go ahead and call max char count and give it our input string right here. Get this going so we can console log some values. All right, later, Percy. Decides to get some attention and then leaves. I need to get some kind of like pet cam. I need to get like a camera on a tripod angled over here so I can switch to it in OBS so y'all can see his antics on the ground every now and again. Anyway, focus, Luke. Come on. So in max char count, we're going to go ahead and, well, so here's an option. We can either write our utility function like we did from last week and write it in like logic inside of here, or break it to utility function. I mean, it really depends on like what style of interview you're doing. If you're doing like a take-home style interview where maybe they give you a GitHub repository that has a README full of questions that you are meant to answer and push code to. Maybe you are doing a Zoom remote interview and you are only allowed to bring up like Notepad to write your code in. I would take the time to write like an outside utility function to use within, like writing another function out here to use within here. Or if you're in a whiteboard interview, I would probably just go ahead and write the logic within. And we'll cover both here in just a second, right? So first thing we need to do is run the tool that we learned last week, that breakdown. So let's go ahead and do that. There's our breakdown object. And if you remember from last week as well, we had a sanitized version of the string because we had to make sure that we invoke the to lowercase function on that string to make sure that all of the letters are lowercase because they are different in JavaScript, right? They're considered different, well, in all programming languages. So from there, hello again, Percival on the left side of the cam. Hey, buddy. It is nowhere near lunchtime, by the way. You know, my coworker Jackson linked me a video recently about making YouTube content and how to like make it so the algorithm likes you. The one thing he had advice for in that video was, if you want to be a YouTuber, don't get cats ever. And then I think this is super cute, so I respectfully disagree with him there. While this cat will disrupt things routinely and I have to edit my videos or pause recording, it's always worthwhile. The chaos is worthwhile. Let's go ahead and loop through that sanitized string. And this is where we had our if-else logic. Get this, right? This is a shorthand. I sure can. Where I said, if breakdown char, he's just butting his head against my arm. I know you want pets, dude, but I gotta make this video. Again, credence to why you shouldn't have a cat, even though I disagree with it. If breakdown char exists inside of that object, then we simply take its current value and increment it by 1. Otherwise, it's its first appearance, which means we assign it a value of 1. And there we go. That's last week's little tool or pattern right there that we can also move into like a utility function that returns it if you wanted to, and we're good to go. Let's actually just go ahead and confirm with a quick console log that breakdown does indeed give us what we're looking for. Okay, cool. So there's that broken down object, and you and I, meaning the YouTuber and the YouTube-E, the you know, Jedi and the Padawan, whatever you want to call it, we can look at this visually as human beings and just say, professionals. I don't know why that just pasted in there. I think I hit right click on my mouse, which will auto paste into Commander. Anyway, you and I will scroll, visually scan this list of numbers and go, oh, 3, that's the highest one I've seen so far. And then continue down the line and stop and go, yeah, it was S because 3 was the highest. That's what you and I do as human beings. But remember, we have to think in terms of computers, right? They have to have like a set of instructions they specifically, sometimes to your own detriment, follow in order to achieve this. So like even me verbally describing what we do, so like if you're sitting here and you're like, I would know how to find the answer as a human by looking at this output right here, but how do I translate that to a set of computer commands, right? So my eye scanning across this means that we're probably going to be doing something iterative, like we have a loop that will be going through every single property and its value across an object. There so happens to be loops for objects these days, thankfully. And from there, we have like almost like a variable in our brain going 1, well, that's 1, 1. Oh, that's higher, so that's currently the highest. That's not higher, that's not higher. Ooh, that's the new highest, remember that. That's not higher, that's not higher, not higher, not higher, not higher. Oh, I set aside that S3 was the highest appearing letter. So almost like we need a variable to track what our highest current count is and the associated letter with it. And then we have to loop through and compare all of those on there. So I don't know why that copy that professional is in there. Oop. There we go. Let's just clear that out. All right. So that's what we did just talking out loud. Now we have to translate that down into a set of commands for this computer to run. So to do that, we can use another form of a shorthand loop. So that's why I love these ES6 and onwards, because I think everyone, I don't think anyone really knows what ExeMaScript we're actually on at this point in time. Everything that's just new and fancy, I dub as ES6, kind of a boomer way to approach it, but it is what it is. All these cool ES6 shorthand loops really get me going. Love them things so much. So the for of loop is great for arrays and strings, but there's actually another shorthand that is perfect for the keys of an object, and that is the for in loop. There we go. So with the keyword in instead of, and the variable we're looping through is an object, this variable that we're creating for each iteration represents the key in this object. That's what it means. That's what that variable is representing, aka PROFESINA and L. Okay, but each key in this particular object represents a character, so I'll go ahead and just call that char anyway, or character, or chara, whatever you want to call it. Now, if we're going to loop through it, like I said, we need to have some kind of variable that tracks what our maximum value currently is. So we need to use a let keyword on that to make sure we can reassign this value. If you have questions of why I can get away with const breakdown equals curly braces while I'm modifying it down here, get in the comments, like, comment, and subscribe. Gotta say that as a YouTuber. Get involved in our Discord community. Come join Covalence and check that links in the description below for that, and ask and we can give you an answer. Or look into something called referential versus primitive data types if you want to do some of your own research. And I'm sure there's something on our YouTube channel or that I've made in the past that covers it. But that's out of the scope of this video. So we need to track what our current maximum value is, and I'll just assign it a number value of 0 out the gate because we don't have anything quite yet. And also, we need to track what our maximum character currently is. So we need to also assign a max char, and I'm going to assign it an empty string just to get these variables prepared. Now, ultimately, the purpose of this function, don't forget, is to return the maximum character, and I'll also just choose to log it there as well, just so we can visualize what's going on to see if it's working or not. Okay, so now inside of this loop, what needs to happen? We simply need to say, does the value of this char exceed, is it greater than our current maximum? If so, assign that as the new maximum and assign the character P as the new max char, right? So that sounds like we're running a condition on every single key in this object or character and its associated value. So yes, that is our good handy dandy friend, the if statement. Do I need an else statement? I don't think so in this case. There's nothing to say otherwise do something else. It's basically, if it doesn't pass, then just move on. So that sounds like a good use case for a solo flying if statement. And so we need to say, is the current value of this character, and what's it represented by? Remember and from the previous video, you'll remember that I talked about this syntax for objects where we can use square brackets for instead of dot notation. I can say, in the current object at this key, which would be P, so meaning this code here represents a number value of 1. If that is greater than our current maximum value of 0, that means we have a new high. We have a new maximum character. So what we need to do is assign the new maximum character to be the char we're iterating over. So on the first iteration, that'll be the letter P. So it goes from empty string to the letter, or the string P now being stored in the variable. Got close there for a dumb meme. Get in the comments if you know I was going to finish that sentence. And our max value also needs to be assigned. So breakdown at position char, that value of 1 needs to replace 0 because that's our new highest. Okay, so any other code? No, the loop is done. So it goes to the next object key value pair, aka char in breakdown. So our value of 1, is that greater than 1? Nope, it's the same. So this logic is skipped because it's not a new high. Moves on to the next iteration. So it goes, is breakdown object at position O or key O, what value of 2 greater than 1? It is, which means our max char becomes O now, and our new max becomes 2. Then it goes to F. 1 is not greater than 2, so it passes. 1 is not greater than 2, then it passes. It gets to the S, our expected output. Is 3 greater than 2? It show is, buddy, which means our new maximum character is assigned to S. Our new max value is, we can actually change it. Let's change that to max value because that kind of is a more fun variable name. Now, that's not something you're going to be doing in a whiteboard interview, but again, I'm just trying to make sure that y'all feel comfortable and understand the purpose of what I'm doing here. So I'm trying to give something more more meaningful variable names for this demonstration. But if you're fine with max, just go for it. Our new max value then becomes 3, and then it goes 1 is not greater than 3, 1 is not greater than 3, 1 is not greater than 3, 1 is not greater than 3. Dunzo. And then it should hopefully console log S, and then this function, if we're testing it or something like that, if we're doing like a take-home interview, then yeah, it should hopefully return the character S. So again, this solution, let's actually test it before I make a liar. Hey, that's what I'm talking about. Look at that right there. Fingers out of the screen. There you go. Look at that S. That big, beautiful S right there. That's exactly what I wanted to see, and we are flying high, y'all. So again, break it down now, y'all. This pattern, this tool that we learned in a previous video helped us answer something more complex along the way, and that's what a lot of this is just practicing these things, and you'll go, wait, I think I've seen something similar to this before, or I have again, something in my tool belt that can help trivialize at least part of this algorithm that I can then kind of bungle my way forward, fail forwards at least at this point in time, right? So again, we could move this to like a utility function. We could, for example, have written like a function called break it down now that also does that exact same break it down for us right here, and maybe we can even have the sanitization part in there as well. So I could take this code, copy it, paste it down yonder in my utility function, and have it return the breakdown object like so. And then that way I can simply take the break it down now function and move it up yonder. There we go. That way I can remove that code, I can remove that code, and we are now left with a series of just simple looking variables in code, right? So this would be my utility function that returns to me that char map, Then if I have that char map here, I set up my max value and my max char. You could always move these into I would probably move these into an object, not in an interview setting, but like an actual code setting. I'd have an object that had these two properties in it. These objects are really fun to customize and work with. But for an interview setting, simple, keep it simple. KISS, right? Keep it simple, stupid. Don't overcomplicate it. So we need to track max value, track the max char that associates that value, loop through each key of our breakdown object, and then simply run this little thing that you and I as humans do visually on an object, right? So that's a fun way to approach this algorithm. It still outputs S, even though I've moved my utility function out here. So yeah, great stuff, y'all. Again, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next video where, believe it or not, we'll keep using the break it down now function to achieve even more stunning results.